Our next speaker is Margalit Berriet with her arts programs and initiatives. Margalit and I are working together for already 10 years or even more. We prepared many things for the International Year of Global Understanding and the role of arts to promote a global vision of local life. She brought together hundreds or even thousands of artists across the globe and was connecting them and put them together to collaborative work, and that was just a fantastic collection of artistic contributions that have been exposed to the first global conference of the humanities in Liège in Belgium, and it has been exposed in different places afterward. Our work continued, and I think inside the Vienna Declaration, if you want an outcome of the International Year of Global Understanding, we continue our work, and I think Margalit is a wonderful person to bring the ideas of the humanities, different cultures and artistic work together, and especially also in respect of creating new perspectives for sustainability and more sustainable forms of life. Margalit, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How do I, you share me, I guess. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
perfectly
well. You want to share screen? You have to do that yourself.
I will share my screen in 1 minute. I will just first say, can you, I don't know if okay, you will see me. Well, my name is Margalit, you already said so, and I also prepared to say thank you, Professor Benno Werlen, which is a good friend, but also an exceptional dedication to everything you do. Thank you. And also thank you for inviting me. And thank you all to all of you. My keyword and the focus of my query is creativity. How and why? As an artist and a leader of research-based arts projects in France, Germany, and also in Israel, Palestine, Turkey, Senegal, Afghanistan, etc., I was and I am inspired by artists who are engaged in reflection and in multi and cross-disciplinary work on crucial questions, also of justice, but also on the condition of all beings. In this spirit, I founded Mémoire de l'Avenir already 25, 30 years ago. And in 2017, together with UNESCO-Chair, the International Council of Philosophy and Human Science, CIPSH, and the Vienna Declaration, formerly then called the International Year of Global Understanding, we initiated together the project Humanity, Arts and Society, which I call HAS. Now, it's really important to say that I do not intend to offer any specific advice for African initiative shaping its own sustainable future. Africa is already rich in its own knowledge systems and in everyday practice, as we saw yesterday and today and so on. Because time is really short, I prepared a very brief presentation, which I will share with you now. I'll try to share it now. Here it is, and tell me if you see it. Can you see, do you see my shared representation now? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The whole thing is changed. My whole thing changed. Okay. Now, each image in this presentation represents another project. Now, MDI and HAS is a global project, a shared community of artists, project leaders, citizens, and scholars from most regions of the world. Like Benno said, we united together and made a call, and they're transcending geography and personal differences, and are looking to share, in fact, collaboration. They demonstrate the impact of the arts and the humanity in society, bringing together ethics and aesthetic, research and projects. Now, I don't see what I share with you, but I hope you see what I share with you. Can you see my first slide? Yes. Are you there? Okay, I don't know. Uh, can you tell me if you see me? Okay, very good. Uh, Now, commitment to the arts. If one is committed to the arts, one may first question, what are the roles of the arts in life and society? What are the role of the artist? What are the roles of cultures? And what are the roles of creativity? Now, creativity is a key factor in shifting mentalities, while real change begins at the roots through people, cultures, and everyday lives. Now, important to say, the arts do not replace science. They are not reducible to the concerns of science, yet they play a vital role in fostering creativity, imagination of a new future, embracing diversities, and cultivating critical thinking. This is a sentence was said by Louis Ostenberg, which is a partner of Benno Werlen and myself, president of the International Council of Philosophy and Human Science, SHIPS, pardon. Now, throughout histories, the arts and cultures have emerged from both tangible and theoretical inquiries through which humankind seeks to shape and understand its own existence. According to sociologist and historian Gregory Derlegon, given the anger and the upheaval threatening our current political, legal, civil, and cultural system, as well as our economies, the future is really difficult to predict. Now, Gregory Medieval is a sociologist and historian from Russian-Ukrainian descent. Now, thus, within global and local realities, where all regions are facing intensifying climate crisis, depending geopolitical fragmentation, widening inequalities, the urgency of unity with shared responsibilities, which is too often unfulfilled, while Africa, among all others, is at the crossroads, tackling pressing development challenging, like we've seen yesterday, today, and ensuring a sustainable legacy for future generations. Yet, divides persistence between North, South, East, and West as a commitment versus action, and this we see daily. Africa's unique position is mobilizing African own vast creativity and potential development solution, opportunities, and resilience. Therefore, rethinking the relationship among the citizens of the world has become real urgent. The question is how? I think that throughout creativity and creative practice, humanity develops new mode of communication, transcending all borders, proposing ideas, rethinking the human condition. Like Hegel said, and it's true for me as well, the arts reveal to the consciousness mind, to the conscious mind, realities in a very sensitive form. The arts raises questions about the essence of being, making them perceptible within the diverse contexts and realities. And again, I said I'm not going to talk about how, I'm only questioning now why. They give voices to infinite pluralities, complexities, contradictions, and instability, all intertwined within a shared humanity. While artistic expression may be dramatic, factual, poetic, or lyrical, they ultimately reflect the complexity of the human condition. Hence, the arts constitute an essential complement to the humanities and to science at once. Because arts, after all, is myself, and science is ourselves, as Claude Girard said, a famous physiologist and a doctor in the 19th century. So that means that together, the arts with humanities and science are aiming, one, to promote global understanding and interdisciplinary collaboration while contributing to the debates on universal issues. As you can see, as Sarah said, la vie est un mystère, and it's our life. The arts are both the source set ways to hide from the world, the surest way to hide from the world, and the surest way to connect with it. Again, Franz Liszt, a Hungarian composer. The arts foster and celebrate differences and facilitate the transmission of knowledge and facts, promoting better understanding and pluralism, mutual awareness, and respect. At the intersection of global media, exchange unfold between projects, individual artists, and research fields, transcending all boundaries. We are posing questions of what are the roles of the arts, of artists, of cultures, of creativity in a contemporary society that is seeking for change, alongside the technology and the humanities. Now, Adama Samasuku, a Malian linguist and philosopher, was the president of SIPS. He invented the humanitude, and we have worked with him, Professor Werlen, Ben Werlen, and myself, and Louise, and so on. He said, humanitude is a concept that explores opening to the others, and I add the S. The only possible way out for disillusioned world and makes it possible to connect human to human. It is the basis for a culture of being. Because a better understanding of the human behavior wherever one is indispensable to a deeper comprehension of the world's people. The humanities and the arts are taking new engagements to face emerging challenges that affect humanity and nature. Profound ethical disagreements do not reside in the universal values or the differences that exist between common beliefs, but in the different ways attitudes about the world are expressed. Therefore, Edgar Morin concludes in his inquiry sur l'esthétique with the idea that life has no meaning by itself, but art gives meaning to our lives. At the same time, it plays a role of resistance to the cruelty of the world, of life, and of other human beings. The arts and cultures mirrors endless pluralities throughout intuitive, sensitive, and informed encounters across differences. It reveals similarities and universalism at the same time. So once again, nature makes us similar, but life makes each one of us very different, Confucius. To conclude, so why with the arts? Art to me equaled the excellency of oneself, a skill of doing specific things. It means to question, to discover, searching for new ways to witness, to express, to resist, to act, to attribute meaning. So the arts vehicle sensitive and cognitive sense at once. And I think it's an innate capacity to produce and to foresee of each and every one of us. Culture to me consists of ideas, costumes, arts in plurality, and social behaviors in plurality of particular people, but also of society. Therefore, cultures, with an S, reflect the pluralities of beliefs, rites, ceremonies, traditions, knowledge, aesthetics, and ethics as one. Culture includes the learning of shared techniques, of conventional languages, of patterns, of behaviors, and of common practice. Creativity is only a tool for searching new ways to witness, to solve problems, and to generate. The arts and cultures reflect the journey of humanities for languages, composing cultures. Nowhere on earth are people without language, and I put it again with an S, and without expressions. The arts and artists are the bridge to gap between people. The arts have an essential role in the preservation of the humanity and of the human. As Tanila Susan Bonny, an Ivorian poet, novelist, and a professor of philosophy in the University of Abidjan says, and the artist's responsibility, I think, does not lay at all uniquely in the aesthetic research, but rather in providing new ways to explore, to create, to take an action. Therefore, research action activities are really necessary. Last, the expression of the minds are diverse. They're shaping, producing, and constituting global shared world. Science, philosophy, arts, laws, ethics, aesthetics, and economies must work together. They cannot be separated. As Michel Lorblanchon writes in The Origin of Culture, The Origin of the Arts, the history of the art and that of man are indivisible. Art begins with man, or even perhaps with his direct predecessor. Antonio Damasio, on the origins of creativity, a philosophy of art, says the arts become a critical component of that of cultural evolution. They are mediators and the strongest advocates of the dialogue. They're proposing both abstract and very practical practice. They are essential in cognitive development and in learning. They promote positive social change, addressing social justice and injustice, as well as environmental and governance issues. Key factor in fostering inclusive, positive social change and empathy is that at every reality that knows itself and other than it is. That's a sentence by Jules Gaultier, a French philosopher. I will end with The Age to Create, written by René Laforestière, which is a doctor and in one of the hospitals in Paris, and he says, to create is to exist. The act of creation frees humans from routine, giving access to pleasure and to the complements of being. It allows each person to reveal and restore themselves. Artistic practice enables everyone to express themselves in a singular way. The resources needed to access the creative dimensions are universal and can be shared. All life is a source of inspiration, and like speaking, seeing, feeling, loving, creativity is action and renewal. Those are the arts. Okay, I come back to you just to end and to conclude. All human actions are rooted in cultural, social, and ethical interpretation, in the knowledge that shapes awareness, care, and engagements. Creativity, allied with all other fields of science and the humanities, expand our imagination of possible future, connecting global challenges with emerging local solutions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Margalit. Very inspiring, like always. The floor is open for questions to Margalit, and maybe also make connections between Margalit's presentation and the two previous presentations, especially the one from Samantha and Gerald. Also, yeah, the floor is yours. Samantha, please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Margalit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I loved your presentation so much because we use art, even in our work, we use expressions of art. But even as you were speaking, I was commenting to Gerald that we need to be more intentional about this. And I really appreciated what you said about globally where we are in terms of unity being urgent. And then also for us as Africa, the crossroads that we are in. And without going too much into the colonial history, one of the ways that we were robbed during that season was through our art being carried away and hidden in museums. So we don't even know that we have a history. It was so good when Andre was using, the instrument he used yesterday, and it just reminds us we did have culture, we did have music. A lot of it has been erased, and so I really appreciated that. And I think what I took out was the idea of ethics and aesthetics. I think that's a nice shortcut, that that arts help us to reconnect with the ethics and aesthetics of the communities that we work with. So I really appreciate that. I also appreciate what you said about to create is to exist. And this speaks to human dignity. And what Bino was saying at the beginning, Professor was saying at the beginning, the talent is evenly distributed, but the conditions for expressing it are limited. And so if you keep a community from expressing themselves, then that's where the frustration comes from, and the rebellion and the uprising. And so, yeah, I really, really love the presentation. And I hope that, Martin, you'll be able to share it with us so that we can, it was very rich. And so I would love to take a look. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions? I don't have the overview of all the participants, so please, if you start, then you will be in the picture. When you start to speak, you will be in the picture.
If I may, Margalit.
Yes.
And just a follow-up to what Samantha was saying, I think in previous conversations we've had that Europe has a very, even the US, I think there was a comment made yesterday that the people don't know much about Africa. And very, very little is spoken about Africa. But from your perspective, what do you see as Africa and the arts? What do you see? Because I believe art would be more expressive and more inclusive. But what do you see when you look at Africa and art and culture?
Well, I got involved in Africa with a very big project, which took me 6 years to build a library to all people. So I don't only work with youth, but I work with all ages. And I think it's really important because the parents are the parents of the young, and the young are the children of the old. So it was very important for me to, in this building of a library, to first of all open the doors a lot to literature that came from Africa, that was written by different African philosophers, writers, Amtaba and so on, Samasuku, and there were a lot of people around me. Also to bring film that speak about Thomas Sankara, that spoke about the fact that we have to be independent in order to create our own richness, like you said, by the way, in your own presentation, which I really appreciated. It's our innovation wherever one is. In Africa, in Europe also, I kept on telling, in Africa, we have also a lot of very poor neighborhoods and poor people, and it's the same problem, is how do you build, how do you get out from where you are to another place? By your own creativity, by your own imagination, by breaking your own limits and working with others, because it was very important. So I created also a whole set of different workshop in my little enterprise in Africa, which sadly enough did not go very well because it was very complicated in Senegal to get what we needed to do. I actually created it 4 times. We created it the first time, and then somebody decided that no, they wanted to destroy it, so we had to create it the second time and the third time. And finally it was in a school, and we opened the door to the street, so it will not be only to children, because there were books also for adults and for those who wanted to finish the baccalaureate and that wanted to go to universities. So, and there were films. So I made it some session of film dialogue debates. We made also different workshop around knowledge, local knowledge, like sewing, painting, drawing, puppets making, how to use the fruits and vegetables around to make the confiture. There were a lot of ideas, and we had a set of workshops, also on learning language, dialect. And we went to visit the older people. I remember in Cabrousse, in different villages. I went to see all the villages around. There were a lot of villages, small villages. So we took the pirogue and we went to learn stories of the older people, because it was very important to transmit knowledge. So I think all of this, I mean, we have a whole workshop, which Ben knows pretty well, which over two days, how to use creativity to abort everything I tell you now in 5 minutes, but it takes time to, first of all, from learning identities, because each one of us is so different, even in the same group. So how to sit together and to get to know the one who sits next to you beyond the limits and the border that exist with our proper politeness and culture and so on. So we have different games that allows us to tell each about themselves without going into intimacy, but at least get to know better each other. And then to learn how much we are all different, even if we live in the same home. And then how much we share, even if we are totally different, coming from Europe, from Africa. And that is the crossroad between cultures and between knowledge, and how can we share? So that was the idea, that the project we built together with Benno Werlen and Louise and John Crowley. Then he left UNESCO. Sadly enough, again, because of lack of finance, the project is pretty much on hold. You can see it, you can go and visit it. It's called the Humanities, Art and Society, and it was in the very beginning of my representation. Benno will share them later with you. If you visit the site, you will see there are projects from all the continents. There are about 180 projects. And we need to share knowledge. We need to share competence. We need to share beyond the limits of language and barriers and money and colonization and decolonization. We need to share what we have now, what we know.
Just to put emphasis on what Margalit just said about International Year of Global Understanding and the project you just mentioned, what I was found exceptionally interesting is how the different artists from different parts of the world, of these 180 contributions, were developing a language, how to communicate without written language. So it was a language of signs, and that was, I think, the fascinating thing that can be transposed in other fields. If we can develop an artistic language about a more sustainable future, independent of our spoken language, I think that would be a thing to achieve. That give people imaginations, and they will bring in their context, and they will build it further. Along the lines that the Grass company is also doing it by talking to young people, how they are seeing things. And I also found this example of Titanic very interesting, But we need a language that is transcending our spoken languages, even a talk about a global future of humanity, because otherwise we are going back in the national and nationalistic traditions of literature and all other types of writing. That's more complicated. So if we find a way of talking or imagining a future that is transcending the written language through images, to imaginations, then I think that would be a way to accelerate the change and to strengthen the cooperation between different cultural traditions. And we can, if you take it that way, then the different cultural traditions can contribute to something common that is going beyond of all our traditions. I think that's also something very important, not losing the link with our backgrounds, but building something new that is unifying people in a way of action. And of course, young people are the most important in that, because they have to live the longest time with the consequences of what we are producing. And I think that's why we have to integrate young people and all ages together. And if we find a language that's transcending our spoken languages, then this could also maybe help to unify different generations in common projects. Yeah?
Can I add something to you, Benno? Because
Yeah,
it's
please,
wonderful
please.
what Benno says, because we work together, so we share ideas. We wrote a project together about 2-3 years ago, which we couldn't really finally deposit in the European community because it was too big of an I don't know, of an aim. We wanted to create sort of an Esperanto, modern Esperanto between all of us, because I wrote a book a few years ago that's called From Drawing to Symbol, From Nature to Culture, where you see that beyond all geographical differences, we all use the same kind of references to nature to communicate with each other. And those references are universal. The way we compose those references is individual or cultural. So obviously, when we say a flower with a tree for me may mean this. For example, I will give you an example. If you say red, in most culture, it will mean blood and life. But in some places, it will mean love. In other places, it means the devil or the danger. So it's the same references could take subjective or collective information. And we said if we work like this, like Benno said, between different culture with different projects, collecting information from various regions, we can create a common Esperanto that allows us to work beyond those differences and share what we know, what we develop, and go further. You know? And I think creating means existing, because also for the elderly among us, sadly enough, they don't have any more a place. And they can find a place by creating and offering their knowledge to us. And again, it's universal. It goes far beyond any limit of language or geography. Thank you, Benno, so much for this
Thank
sharing.
you. Thank you, Margalit. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we are just coming to the end of this slot, and for 15 minutes break. But I think we just started a conversation about major issues. And I would like to take on in the final discussion round what just Samantha and Gerard were also making the point, and Margalit, aesthetics and ethics, to bring them together. I think aesthetics for me is to design a new vision of success. What is success? Today it's a useless use of resources to impress other people, and it's absolutely meaningless, in fact, how people celebrating success. So we need to have a new idea of success, and I think that's how much we contribute to one another's well-being, in fact. So that would be a generator of change, if we can change the idea of success throughout all cultural backgrounds.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's have a small break. We need to eat something, and then we continue after 15 minutes break. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.